welcome to a new episode of Criterion Watch here at Indie Film Cafe. I'm your host, A Presenza, otherwise known as the Moo Cow, and I'm joined by
Jonathan A. Moody.
And together we are joined by
Joe Turek.
Outstanding.
I had to keep the theme going with that.
And this time we are talking about the movie Time Bandits from 1981.
And we were pointing out earlier that you haven't been on the show last season at all, I don't think, or so. Well, no, you were there last season. We haven't done the show.
Yeah, it's been a while.
For a while, so yeah, but we haven't had you back for it, so welcome back.
Yep, absolutely. And so this was kind of fun. I'd been wanting to do Time Bandits for a while, and I finally got the Criterion version, which is loaded with all kinds of fun extras. And is it a movie that you guys had seen in a while?
Well, so it's funny, real quick. I just want to point out that you usually have like a pile of movies like that you want to do for Indie Film Cafe, and you're like, that's on my list, you know. And this was actually on my list of movies, but I was like, I don't know when I'm gonna get to it, so I'd rather you do it, and then.
So you own a Criterion version as well?
Oh yeah, I own the Blu-ray of it.
He's got more Criterions than I do.
Yeah. Got like, I counted the other day. It was like 71.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't have that many.
I might have 10.
But
it's kind of. I have a lot
all
of others.
Blu-rays or just DVDs too?
A little of both.
Okay.
When was the last time you guys saw this particular film?
It was when I bought it, so it must have been like, I want to say, it's got to be 2020 or 2021, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I think I saw this parts as a kid, but other than that, I don't. I mean, that would have been, 30, 40 years ago.
Wow, so you haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's pieces I remember, but in general, it was like a fresh viewing.
Yeah, I bought it when it came out in DVD. Well, first I saw it in the theater when it actually came out. And then when it came out in DVD, I bought it, and I'd watched it a number of times then. But it's probably been at least 10 years since I saw the film. And then once it came out in Blu-ray, especially for Criterion, I was like, oh, gimme. So I got it and checked it out, and I was like, wow, this is great. So
it does look beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it looks really, really good.
I had it queued up in one of the streamers as something to watch soon.
So now you don't have to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I don't know if this is actually on the Criterion channel or not. Maybe
it's on Max right now. Yeah.
Oh, it's on HBO Max.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of Criterion stuff floats in different other feeds as well, which I guess is good. Yeah.
And that's where they usually put some of the Criterion stuff pops up on there. So.
And it looked really, really good on Blu-ray. So.
Definitely.
Yeah. So. For those of you who don't know about the film, this is Terry Gilliam, who's one of the folks from Monty Python troupe. He and Michael Palin wrote it, and then he directed it. And it's about this kid who's got, I guess, a really big imagination. And he gets mixed up with this gang of very small ne'er-do-wells who steal the map of time.
Very small.
He's a small ne'er-do-well.
Yeah. Steal the map of time, and they use it to go around and commit robberies, because that's what you do.
Time bandits.
Time bandits. So they go through time, and they pester people like Napoleon and Robin Hood, and steal their stuff, and then just kind of go from one crazy adventure to the other.
It's literally one crazy adventure to another, like one. And I mean, at one point they're on the Titanic. It's like they're just trying to do things through history.
Yeah, and they're being pursued
by Sir Ralph Richardson, the supreme being, and then of course
Evil, and also Evil,
played greatly by David Warner, who's perfect. Also wants his hands on the map so that he can turn beans into peas. And
he didn't want to do that.
Well, his buddy did.
His buddy did. Then he turned into a dog.
And there's a lot of funny, weird black humor involved in this too, because you can't just have a straight up film when it comes to Terry Gilliam. It's always got to be, an odd sense of humor. If you're used to Brazil, or if you're used to any of the other Python movies.
Brazil.
I'm actually not a fan of Brazil.
Really? I like Brazil.
Yeah, I like this one. I own almost all of his movies, including Fisher King, and I need to get Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Just came on 4K for Criterion, so I want to eventually get.
So he always has these movies that are just really, really, really big on imagination. Sometimes
Jabberwocky.
Sometimes they're a little overboard, I think, but for the most part, they're pretty fun and pretty imaginative. And the Don Quixote one was
Did you watch it?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to check that out. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think honestly he's sort of mellowed out on the weirdness in his older age. You know, he's not as weird. You know, but he's still such a. I mean, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah,
I
was
mean,
12 Monkeys.
12
That's what I was
Monkeys
thinking
was
of.
fun.
Yeah, he's done so many. You know,
Has he done anything in the last 10 years or so?
He's done a few things.
Don Quixote
There's
movie.
smaller films, which is weird because I don't associate small anything with a Terry Gilliam production. But then he doesn't really have the budgets that he used to either. So.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, yeah, I don't know why Hollywood hasn't just given him a bigger budget again. You know.
Yeah.
Times have changed.
But you know, all the special effects and all the really weird stuff really kind of stands out in this film, and I think the sets and the costumes really, really make this just stand out. I think there was a little bit of the commentary where they're talking about they were using the folks from Life of Brian, and some of the sets and some of the locations were used in Life of Brian. So if you're familiar with Life of Brian, you'll probably recognize a number of things there. But Sean Connery was in there. Ian Holm was in there. Sir Ralph Richardson was in there. Michael Palin and Shelley Duvall are in there. John Cleese, Jim Broadbent. There's a lot of folks that you will recognize that are in there. And it's funny, Palin and Shelley Duvall play these two characters, Pansy and I forget his name.
They show up at various stages.
I know.
And they're just ridiculous characters, but they end up popping in different points of time.
Which is
being
weird.
ridiculous.
Like, why do they know about the portals or something?
I don't think so. I think it's a coincidence. It's got funny coincidence.
Yeah.
And then you have the Bandits too.
And the Bandits, yeah. So all the little folks are each sort of their own individual odd kind of character. You got Fidget, who's like a little tiny. I don't know what you'd call him. He's kind of ridiculous, and Og wants to eat everything, or Vermin wants to eat everything, and Og is the guy who got turned into a pig, but he liked it, so he kind of wanted to stay. And Randall's kind of the hothead. No, Randall's the leader. They didn't want to be the leader. The other guy.
Well, no, because apparently they weren't supposed to have a leader,
right.
But he was pretty much the leader.
Wally was the hothead.
Yeah.
And they're all weird and sort of individual, but they all kind of work together as a group. And
which one's Kenny Baker?
Fidget.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were originally people or instruments of the Supreme Being who were making bracken and trees and plants and weird things, and then they got their opportunity to steal the map and go and steal things from like Napoleon, and so they decided, well, what the hell.
Yeah, they stole from Napoleon. They stole from the king.
Agamemnon.
Agamemnon, yeah.
Is that real king? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, like he's a king out of legend anyway.
Okay.
And he was Greece? From Greece?
From Greece, yeah. Classical
okay.
Greece.
Because they mentioned that.
Yeah,
they
threw that nice jab at Greece.
I know. They're like,
Mycenae.
you're stealing from Greece.
But they just happen to pop into, because they don't really know what they're doing, so they happen to pop into Kevin's room one night, and, he just gets swept along with the adventure.
Okay, so the first night they go in, and because all of a sudden, like, the first night, a bunch of, like, I thought it was like horses.
Yeah,
shit went through his room, and then they disappear. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And then the next day he wants to catch them again doing that. And
So he brings his Polaroid camera.
Brings his flashlight, because his dad doesn't like him having the light on or whatever. So he's waiting, and then nothing's happening. He's starting to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden the guys creep in the room and everything, and it was sort of funny.
And they're looking for the next portal. That's why they're in there.
Which they find by pushing the wall, and making it go.
It's never done that before.
So they're just pushing it, and then they get out, and the I think it was the Supreme Being was like, "Hey, give me back my map.
Return what you have stolen from me."
Like, no, and they ran off.
I'm trying to think of the name. Oh, Craig Warnock. He was actually really good as the kid, I thought. He was, he's kind of like the heart of the film, and he's sort of the one that we all sort of identify with, because he's like this innocent little kid who just wants to have an adventure, but he's also smart, and he's able to figure out things and help the little thieves, the little time
thieves.
bandits, even though sometimes they
That should have been the
deserve
full
it.
title, Little Time Bandits.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and
It's a cute movie. I
it is
liked it.
adorable. And then
Yeah.
I love the fact that inside the Criterion box,
Don't say there's the map.
you get
Yeah.
the map.
That's why I started to see
There
part
you
of it. I
go.
was like,
So you
oh.
know how they give you all the information about the film and everything, but they do it on the back of the map. So this way,
You can hang that on your wall or
Yeah.
something, or
and if you find yourself going through time, you don't have to take a Polaroid of it.
Yeah, they went from here to there's the little portal. Oh.
that's so cool.
That is cool. That's really nice.
Yeah. So that's like, I mean, all of this stuff is pretty neat. It's a pretty neat little story of this kid who just has this big imagination, is able to go to different places. You said your favorite character was like Napoleon.
Oh my God, Ian Holm was so funny as Napoleon, and he's obsessed with his height. So he's just talking about how all these other famous conquerors are small or were smaller than him.
But is that true?
Some of it's true, some of it's not. I mean, we were smaller as you go back in time, kind of, sort of.
But yeah, but what I'm wondering about that is because everybody always mentions how Napoleon is like was the shortest.
The Napoleon
You know,
complex.
right? The Napoleon complex. They don't say
Small man,
what was the
big personality or big felt like he's a dominant personality.
what was some of the people that they mentioned?
Oh, Attila the Hun.
They don't call it the Attila the Hun complex.
No.
You know, like
Well, there was some of those that was like, was it 4'8" or something like that?
Actually, it's funny because back in the 1812, 1814, all that, when the British press, they actually made fun of Napoleon. They sort of talked about him being small, and it was a big thing, and apparently it really ticked him off. So they played into that, and then I just love the fact that he's conquering Italy, and he stops long enough to watch a puppet show, and it's a traditional. Was it? God, what is the name of the puppets?
I know what you're talking about.
Punch and Judy.
Punch and Judy.
So
yeah.
the one puppet is smacking the other puppet, and the guy gets shot, so he has to stop. So Napoleon's complaining. He's like, "Bring back the puppets. That's what I like to see. Little things hitting each other."
The other things were
I
like
lost it when I
they
heard
tried to
that.
make it bigger and bigger with the other things that was coming
Right.
on stage, and he was just like, no.
That's
Bring
not the
back
right height.
Bring back the puppets.
I liked that the guy putting the show on was getting ready to hang himself. And
Right,
do
right,
things,
right.
'cause He's like, I failed. He's like, I'm gonna get killed anyway, so I just gotta do it.
Yeah, he's trying to shoot himself, and then he got distracted. Then he tried to hang himself, and then they put out the little ones, right?
Yeah, the dwarves.
The dwarves come out, and they
They
start
do
doing.
Me and My Shadow,
Yeah, and he.
the shambolic version where they're like falling them down and hitting each other.
Yeah, and then he just. Is kind of staring at them, so you have no idea what he's thinking. He's not laughing, he's not being mad.
He's amazed.
Just staring at them, and so he walks backstage, and he's like kissing the guy who's about to hang himself because he's like, "This is exactly what I want. This is my new generals."
Yeah, and he makes them the new generals because he's like one of them.
So like all the other generals, he took the clothes off of. It's like the clothes wouldn't fit, but it's like they were all in their
Right.
pajamas, basically, or their undergarments.
I love how he's like I told you not to stand close to me. It's like being at the bottom of a bloody well. And so of course they take that opportunity to steal from him. So they wait till he gets drunk, and then they just steal all his shit.
Passed out, yeah, and then they.
Was it him that they stole the Mona Lisa from?
Yeah, and they took his hand. They took his little gold hand. It was
The
so
gold
funny.
hand. Did he actually have a gold hand?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but it was kind of funny to think that's why he always had his hand in his.
Well, you pointed out that the kid just kind of stared at it, like.
I know, he's like the perfect thing. He's like goes over to the sleeve. He's like looking in there, and they're like, "Oh, come on."
We gotta go.
gotta go.
Yeah, because they're going to have the whole army come after him.
So next they go to see Robin Hood, and
Jolly
they don't know
good.
anything about Robin Hood, but the
Jolly
kid
good.
does. And he wants, jolly good. Everything's jolly good. You're a jolly good person. I thank you for jolly good, right? And it's John Cleese as Robin Hood, and he's
Very, very nice.
he's like it's a very, very nice version of him, and he's like the whole time he's like, the poor is gonna love this, and they're like, oh, the what? It's like the poor's gonna love all your stuff that you're giving them. Oh,
Yeah.
they'll be less poor now.
So they've lost all the stuff that they've stolen.
Yeah, but all the compliments that the Robin Hood was giving all of them at the very end of that segment, he's like, I don't like those guys.
Yeah, at the end they're like, they're very bad people.
Yeah.
They're very mean people or something.
And I like how they were giving stuff out to the poor, but they also get a punch in the face.
Yes, and then he's like talking to the guy.
Is it absolutely necessary? I'm afraid it is.
No, like, because the guy just starts, and the guy's like, "What do you say?" It's like, he says he's afraid it is. You know, so.
Okay.
And Marion was a little bit different.
Yeah.
Marion was not a maid. Marion, it was just a man. And I think that was the man that was speaking, and you can understand what he was saying.
And that was the first time we run into Michael Palin and Shelley Duvall after because they land in their wagon,
their carriage or whatever.
and then they get robbed and tied to a tree.
Multiple times.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, the problem! Oh no! I must have fruit."
I must have fruit. That was the weirdest line ever.
Because who the hell knows what they're talking about?
No.
You just imagine.
So yeah, and then they get like their clothes taken away or whatever. At least he does.
When they come
more.
back, they after they leave Robin Hood and all, they're coming back to that carriage. And they're seeing they're getting robbed again.
Because they just ignore them. They just wander past them, don't care.
Yeah. And the whole time they're like, help. And they're just like, nah, never mind.
It was funny.
We're just going to keep going.
And it's funny because there are those people out there who think, oh, Shelley Duvall, in The Shining and maybe a couple Robert Altman movies, but that's it. They forget she was in Popeye as well, and she was in Time Bandits and a few other films in the 80s too.
Yeah, so
and,
this would have been right after those.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
Popeye and Shining.
Shining was 80, I think, 1980s.
Yeah, Popeye same. So yeah.
Wow, so she had a career.
She did.
And you know what? She is still acting. She's in a movie called The Forest Hills. That's a werewolf movie right now, so good for her.
Yeah,
I love her.
She kind of went off a little bit, but now she's back.
No, she's back.
Yep, looking forward to seeing her return to.
I know. I saw it actually.
You seen it?
Yeah, he let me have a little sneak peek to give him my critique, and I adored it. It's going to be a really good movie, and
That's
hopefully
cool.
bring her back.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yes.
Robert Furlong's in it too.
And well, I don't know if she wants to come back, but at least it's like one last movie that she does if she wants to.
Well, and it was kind of sad seeing how many folks in Time Bandits we no longer have. Sean Connery's not around anymore, and
Catherine
Ralph
Hellman.
Richardson, Catherine Hellman.
A number of the dwarves are gone too.
Yeah, I think just about all of them. In fact,
Catherine, what?
The guy who played Randall, unfortunately, I remember he killed himself.
Oh,
Kenny
Jesus.
Baker's obvious. He's gone.
Yeah.
Kenny Baker died. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one of them I was looking through real quick on IMDb, and one of them was still alive.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But
like 80 years old now.
This movie was made in the 80s, and a lot of them were already in like their 50s when they were making this.
So this is what, 40 years plus?
Yeah.
Yep. 40 years old.
So I can kind of understand, it's going to get at that time where it's sort of like,
Right, and that's kind of the other reason why I wanted to talk about it, is because I imagine there are plenty of people in the younger generations who have probably never even heard of Time Bandits, which is a shame. Because it's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting film, and it is not a politically correct film.
Correct film, no.
But it is a lot of fun, and it's very, very imaginative. And I think if people give it a chance, I think that they would very much enjoy it.
Well, there was the God stuff, which I thought was interesting, but I don't know what your thoughts are because you are a Christian.
Oh, Ralph Richardson! I thought he played a very like CEO-ish kind of God. You're like, oh, this is yours? Well, sign here.
Here. And the whole time he's like, I think I did a very pretty good job for
Yeah, he's like, you guys can come back and have your job back just at a 19%, lesser pay. I am the nice one.
Then the beginning of time, or
I am the nice one after all. What?
Yeah, he said 19%. Reduction in pay from your time at the beginning of time, or something.
Right.
I was just like, ooh, ouch. But
but they were all happy with it because they didn't have to potentially be killed or turned into pigs or
right.
Well, I think that fitting that at the end. I mean, with I didn't really look too deeply in the religious aspects of this one for it, so I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a fantasy.
I didn't think of this too much. I mean, he was sort of a puppet master, if you will, and then I mean they use God
pull the strings.
But yeah,
they don't even say God. They the whole time
Supreme
they call
being.
him Supreme Being.
Yeah. And I mean, there was, Puppet Master.
He's like,
I mean,
oh, we don't know him that
Wizard of
well.
Oz, the man behind the curtain.
Right.
Man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz. So it's like Puppet Master.
Exactly. Well, they have that line. You're right. They have that line of, you mean God? And he goes, well, we don't know him that well. And I was like, that's funny. And then we had Sean Connery as the freaking king who fought a minotaur, which was pretty cool. That was fun. That was a story.
A magician.
Did he actually supposedly fight a minotaur or something?
I don't think so, but he was a hero and also a villain. So it depends on what story that you're reading. I mean, he's embroiled in the Trojan War as well.
Oh, okay.
So
he's also a fireman.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know that the Monty Python guys did a movie that took place possibly around the Trojan War time, considering they did the Trojan Rabbit and Holy Grail.
And you could tell there's a lot of Python-esque kind of stuff going on in the film too, which is always fun.
Yeah, and sometimes that type of humor sometimes doesn't. Some people don't catch, so it does harken to that too a little bit, but that's fine. I mean, I think it. For the people that do like it, it hits.
Well, it's interesting because it turns out John Cleese is bringing back Fawlty Towers, which is another product of that time, which I loved.
But that's very politically incorrect.
Not only that, apparently some folks from the for the current generations were looking at it and thinking, oh, this isn't funny at all. And he was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch it then because you're not going to find this funny.
Yeah, you're not gonna find it. My dad actually did. My family does not like that movie or that show, but it's your tip. It's a sort of mean-spirited show.
And
it's
everything. Funny though.
And some people don't like mean-spirited show. Some people don't like The Office because it's mean-spirited at times. Very Ricky Gervais or Steve Carell's version. Like it's just.
Loved them both. Both versions.
But they're mean-spirited, and that's sort of the jokes and everything. Some people don't like that, and Fawlty Towers is sort of more like that. This is not mean-spirited.
It's a little, maybe.
What, this movie?
A little, maybe.
When was it mean-spirited?
I mean, Kevin kind of leaves off in a bad spot.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
And
his parents are blown over, maybe.
But he sort of, in a way, kind of caused it by saying it's evil, which they were like...
No one listens to Kevin.
Yeah, nobody listened to him, so...
He's like, don't touch it, don't touch it.
Yeah, so if he had told him touch it, they may not have touched it. Maybe.
That's concentrated evil. Throw it in the rubbish bin.
But yeah, that and I would say the other mean-spirited thing is that the fact that the guys took him away from, his happiness, but... I don't really consider that very
And the
evil.
dog got blown up.
But the dog, that even though I'm like normally all against that sort of thing, it was the way they did it was kind of funny at times. Like it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me as much. Especially since that wasn't really a dog. That was that guy.
Benson.
What? Benson, who the whole time is just this idiot. And I forgot the line he said, but he said some line about...
You're so unravaged by the scourge of intelligence or something like that.
I was like, what the... I was like, I want to say that to somebody, but I need to write it down and memorize it now,
That's a very fitting line for today's time.
Yes.
Yeah, David Warner was really good. Yeah, the casting was just perfect. So
yeah,
really
top
well
notch. You said the guy Kevin hasn't, the kid who played Kevin, who would not be a kid right now.
No, he hasn't really done much.
Yeah, looked him up real quick. He had one additional credit a few years after that. But he's married and has like 2 kids or something like that.
He'd be in his 50s right now or something, right? I think. Yeah,
probably
about 50s.
A little bit older than me.
A little older than 50s. And so, it'd be cool if he went to like conventions or something, or whatever, and people could beat him. But that's the problem is Time Bandits is such a cult movie that like not many people would know. Like
your Python folks know it.
Yeah, like The Shining is a lot bigger, and stuff where the kid who played Danny, does the horror conventions and stuff. That sort of makes sense, but if this kid went on and as a man and did that, people would just be like, "Oh, he was in a movie."
Well, he'd be like the kid that like did what Neverending Story, that type of thing at the beginning, or maybe the kid at beginning Princess Bride or something like that. The boy, That's
Fred Savage.
That'd be Fred Savage.
Yeah,
but,
sometimes they move on.
Yeah.
Like Sarah Polly was actually in the Munchausen, and she's gonna become an actress and director in her own right.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was in the wasn't she in the American Horror Story stuff?
I think so.
she's directing now. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. So what else is on the Criterion version?
All right, let's see here.
I saw you showed
Yeah,
the
there's-
map and
there's
some
new
production notes and
extras.
stuff like that.
Yeah, so a new 2K digital restoration supervised by director Terry Gilliam
It looked good.
with compressed stereo soundtrack, audio commentary featuring Gilliam, co-writer actor Michael Palin, and actors John Cleese, David Warner, and Craig Warnock. So awesome.
It's good people involved. The only thing it could
Nice.
there be too much. There's 5 of them there. That could be a lot. Too much people, but
Well,
it's got
I mean-
good people. So I mean, people definitely would be in the know for this project. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
could be a good
sometimes
listen.
they can be like a jumbled mess if all of them are talking it,
Yeah, it just
over
depends
each
on how
other.
it's done, but that could be good.
New piece narrated by film writer David Morgan, featuring production designer Millie Burns and costume designer James Atchison, discussing the creation of the film's various historical periods and fantasy worlds. Was that what you were listening to?
Yeah.
Cool. Conversation between Gilliam and film scholar Peter von Bog, recorded at the 1998 Midnight Sun Film Festival. An appearance by actor Shelley Duvall on Tom Snyder's Tomorrow Show from 1981.
Oh, nice.
Gallery of rare photographs from the set, trailer, plus an essay by critic David Sterrett, which does not mention that you get the map, but that's awesome too. So you also
A lot
get
of
the
good
map.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a great disc.
Yeah. It looked good.
It looked
Oh, yeah,
good,
looked
sounded
fabulous.
great.
Sounded fabulous.
Yeah.
Everything was top notch.
You talked about something with the costumes and the production design and all that stuff. That'd be very interesting to see and listen to.
Yeah, he was listening briefly to it and stuff. It
Because
was,
there's definitely enough periods where they could really have a variety of, and they did have a variety of stuff. So putting that
They
together,
don't make them like this anymore.
nope.
it was CGI'd everything in the background probably.
Yeah, I mean it would be
Some of
be
the
like the
costume-
green screen of death kind of
Oh,
thing.
God.
That's all they would do.
Might have been some good costumes on the front end people, but then the rest of it would be CGI.
I love the
behind it.
models when they were doing the Fortress of Ultimate Evil. You could tell it was a model, but it looked great.
Yeah,
And
because
the-
they were like
the
feeling like,
crane shot going up, and you're seeing how big the fortress is, and
it felt like it fit in like a
cool.
Lord of the Rings type of feel.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. But, yeah.
I was even mentioning I'm surprised Terry Gilliam was never asked to direct Lord of the Rings. Maybe he was, and maybe he turned it down, but he would have been a perfect person to do Lord
it's
of
an
the
interesting
Rings.
story. I'd love to talk to or hear him talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to know if he ever got asked or whatnot. If he said no, I was too busy doing 12 Monkeys or all my other movies that I was doing. Or I think he more likes to do original material though. Like I've never really seen him do many unoriginal stories or whatever. Like not unoriginal, but like
preset.
adaptations and stuff. So I think he would be great at doing that, but I think also maybe that's not what he would want to do, 'cause
Right, he'd probably want to do it his way.
you would probably want to do a Lord of the Rings style movie.
Actually, be constrained by the material.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you do an adaptation, you have to stick to
At
the
least
book.
to some level. Yeah.
You're supposed to.
Yeah.
They haven't been doing that lately, but that's a whole nother video. But anyway, I was very glad you picked this because I was excited one day do this, and rewatch it with you guys. And I know you were a fan of Terry Gilliam.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if you had even seen it or not. And
Like I was saying earlier about my little exposure to it, but I had it queued up because it piqued my interest just reading about it, and I was like, oh yeah, this would be something to watch soon.
Yep. Well, there you go. Maybe you can still watch it with your wife sometime. If you want to. Is this something you would want to watch again with somebody?
With somebody, yeah. With her, I'm not sure, but she does get into some of the costume related stuff and the.
It's not very scary or anything.
No, nothing like that. And she appreciates the British humor.
Yeah.
So she definitely appreciates that. So it could be something she would like. But I'd have no issue watching this again.
You said you'd watch this with Lenore if you could.
Yeah, I think she would enjoy that. It'd be one of the movies I'd very consider getting on 4K if it ever came out in 4K.
I don't know if it is on 4K or not, but they are turning a lot of Terry Gilliam stuff into 4K. I think The Fisher King just got 4K, which sucks because I just bought it on Blu-ray, not knowing it was going to go to 4K transfers, 4K. But
well, they say that the 4K stuff's starting to approach the Blu-ray in sales. Like 4K sales are approaching it, so there could be a moment of shift happening in that dynamic. DVD still obviously control half of stuff, but
from what I've understood with Fisher King, I don't even know if it needs a 4K. This needs a 4K because this is like the scope of the film and everything is just amazing.
Yeah, Fisher King's a lot
less
grand, if you will. I mean, this is a lot more grand.
It's a little bit more compressed or whatever, and in real life, more so than this fantasy world crazy like shit going on.
But I'm always up for a 4K if it's for most films, anyways. That need it.
I'm surprised that the kid, and I mean I might have a reason why, but I was surprised that the kid didn't realize he was on the Titanic. When
he did throw out the iceberg reference.
Yeah.
The ice.
Yeah, and so he was like, he looked like he was sitting there because he was mad because they took him away from his new dad. The king was adopting him and everything. He was happy, and those little bandits, man.
They took him away from him, and they stole his new king father's stuff.
And crown.
Yeah, and the crown on top of it.
They plucked it right off his head.
I know, and he all thought it was a magic act because he had done magic, which that goes to show you the stuff that, like, indie filmmakers take note of stuff like this, where it showed him doing a magic trick to the kid once. You saw that. So this guy likes magic. So when he has a magic show in front of him, he gets excited and everything. And then later when his crown gets stolen, he's like, wait, what? Where did he go? But that is how you do a scene, because you establish a character liking something, then you set it up and you
set up payoff.
Yeah, set up and pay off, yeah. But indie films forget that stuff. They forget to set things up. They just do the payoff. But there's no payoff then.
Yeah, just an event then. I mean,
so it's something you got to learn as a writer. And you said this was Michael Palin and Terry Gilliam.
Well, with the whole Monty Python humor and stuff like that, it requires a lot of, playing off of itself and stuff like that. So there is that element of setup and payoff that would work well.
Yeah. So, all in all, I thought it was a pretty damn good movie. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure to add?
Nope. It's a great film. Go check it out.
Did it? I don't know this, but did it do anything box office wise? Do you even know?
You
said you saw it in the theaters. You said, right?
It did well.
Yeah. It did well, and I mean, obviously, it got Terry to go on to do like Adventures in Bear Munchausen and all the other big ones that he did.
Or early '80s, that would have been like a couple years after like Mad Max and stuff like that. So I mean,
good.
I'm just thinking of stuff in the early '80s. I mean, obviously Star Wars and different things, but
Blade Runner.
Yeah, Blade Runner. Yeah, which wasn't very well received on initial thing, but yeah.
Wasn't Blade Runner 82? Yeah, it was 82.
It was 81.
It was 82.
But early '80s stuff, it's just a lot of those weren't as appreciated then as they are now.
Well, there were so many of them. There were so many great movies coming out around that time. It's not like now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, nowadays you won't get a movie like this, which sad. I mean, if they remade this movie, it'd all be CGI and it would all suck because they wouldn't have the little people. They wouldn't have. It would just be completely different, and I would not want them to touch this movie at all. Leave it the way it is, and do something original. But Terry Gilliam, man, I really hope you make another movie. Something to the effect of this now. As I said, I think he's kind of lost a little bit of the weirdness, and stuff, and makes more straightforward stuff. I haven't seen Don Quixote, but I think that's I don't think that's as crazy as
all
this.
the Python folks are getting old.
I know, but we still got John Cleese, Michael Palin, all of them are still there except for Graham Chapman, who passed away years ago. So
Eric Idle's still there.
Eric Idle, I think Terry, the other Terry. There's Terry Gilliam.
Terry Jones died.
Terry Jones died. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's a bummer. So there you go. So hopefully all the rest of them will come back and do some more stuff with everything, you know.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love
Yeah.
to see one more Python film. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, well, is there any like struggles between them or anything like that, or is it just
No, I don't think so.
They
I
just all
think
done their certain own
I
way?
think the impression is that their kind of humor has aged out.
that's true. It is sort of harder to make a movie as goofy and stuff as they've made theirs because it's just not the same as what people are used to now, you know, and everything.
Comedy's probably harder in some ways to do now because it is so PC and
Because you got to be afraid of who you're offending, and I don't think anybody offended anybody in this movie. I honestly don't. You know, so there you go.
I don't think it mattered.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered back then. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for checking this out. Right. And join us next month for my episode. Who knows what that'll be? But I don't even know what that'll be.
you said you got 70, or was that
71.
Yeah, 71.
71 movies. So it's got a few to choose from, you know. So we'll see. But I may even do one that's not on my, you know, whatever, you know, my collection. Who
Yeah, I've
knows?
only got about like 30, 35.
Still 30, 35 is pretty big.
I mean, I have like 500 Blu-rays and thousands of DVDs and stuff like that, but yeah, Criterion, less than 10.
Criterion's a little bit of a different kind of beast.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for checking this out. Join us next month for a brand new episode. And till then, everybody,
Ah.
bye.